Welcome everyone to the Symbility self-paced training modules. We've designed our training modules with you, the user, in mind to take control over your learning experience. You can pause the video at any time to give yourself some hands-on practice. In this module, you're going to learn how to get started in Symbility Mobile Claims. Alright, so to get started in mobile claims, the first thing we have to do is create an account. So to create an account, we're going to navigate to Symbility.net. So just make sure you open up Internet Explorer and navigate to Symbility.net, and it'll take you to this page. From this page, there's a green button right here in the center. It says, not a registered user, download a free trial version. So what we have to do is we have to get you registered for an account within Symbility, and you need to download mobile claims. So I'm going to click on that green button, and it'll take you to this screen. This is where you choose what kind of user you are. So you'll click on the appropriate Get Started and follow the steps that it presents to you. So you'll be creating your Symbility account. It'll give you a username and a password. Once you've created that account, to receive that username and password, you're going to receive an email, and it will look like this. So you'll see that it says Symbility Claims Connect registration confirmation. Once you receive that, you have to confirm your registration to activate your account. So you'll see your username and password are displayed in here. That password is temporary. It's only good for 7 days, so you have to make sure you activate your account. And you'll do that by clicking on this link and follow the appropriate steps. So once you've created your account, you've received your username and password, and you've activated your account, the next thing you'll have to do is install mobile claims. Mobile claims is where we're going to do most of our work. Once you've created your account and you've confirmed your account, you've activated it, you'll log into Symbility Claims Connect. So again, that's navigating to Symbility.net. And up here in the commands panel, in the top left-hand corner, there's a link that says Download Symbility Mobile Claims. You'll click on it, and it takes you to this screen. It says Symbility Mobile Claims Download Center. You'll click on the link, Download Symbility Mobile Claims. And depending upon what web browser you're using, it's recommended that you use Internet Explorer. It will look like this. You could go ahead and click on Run. But just keep in mind, if you're using a different web browser, this next step might look a little different. But follow the prompts and it installs mobile claims onto your desktop. So at this point, we've talked about getting your account, right? You've created your username and your password, you've activated it, and you've downloaded Symbility Mobile Claims. So right now, the screen I'm looking at says Symbility Mobile Claims. But one concept I want to talk about early on is the difference between Symbility Claims Connect and Symbility Mobile Claims. When we talk about Symbility, it's important to understand that there are two components to our platform. So Symbility Claims Connect, if you've ever heard of the term the cloud, that's really what this is. It's a hub of information that's stored and backed up out in the cloud, and you can easily access things through the internet. And really, you access Symbility Claims Connect by navigating to www.symbility.net. So that's Claims Connect. It's kind of the administrative side of things. It's where you can create claims, you can assign them, you can run reports, you can do a lot from Claims Connect, but again, it's the administrative side of things. So what's Symbility Mobile Claims? Symbility Mobile Claims is the software that gets installed on your computer, and it's where you'll do all of your diagramming, estimating, everything like that, all of your daily work. So most contractors and independent adjusters will spend most of their time working in mobile claims. So here we are at the Symbility Mobile Claims login screen. In our training tutorials, everything will be based in mobile claims. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. When you log into mobile claims, this is the first screen you'll see, and it's your claim list. So keep in mind, the more claims you're working, the longer this list is going to become. And like a lot of screens you'll see in mobile claims, your claim list is customizable. So I could click on the View tab up here, and you can see that there are some buttons here, grouping and columns. I'm in control over how things are grouped and what columns are displayed in here. So you can kind of control the setup here. You could also click and drag and drop these different columns. Really, there's no right or wrong way to have this information displayed. The important thing is that it's customizable and you can figure out a way that feels right for you. Now, one of the first things you'll do when you log into mobile claims, it's really important that you do this every day, when you start your day in mobile claims, we always start our day by synchronizing. And the reason that's so important is this. You know those two components we just talked about? So I talked about Symbility Claims Connect and Symbility Mobile Claims. Synchronizing is the communication between those two components. It's kind of this push and pull of information. So it pulls new information in. So that means, if a claim had been created out in Claims Connect, or there are any updates to our system or updates to the database, synchronizing pulls in that new information. At the same time, it can be pushing information out. So if you just wrote a claim and you did a big diagram and estimated a lot, synchronizing can also back that information up out in the cloud. So again, it's the pulling in information from Claims Connect and pushing out information from mobile claims, so that communication between the two components. So I'm going to synchronize. As I click on it and it starts to load, just keep in mind that in order to synchronize, you need an internet connection. And as it loads, it's going to pull in new information. So what we can see here is it pulled in a new claim assignment to me. Now, in mobile claims, you can create a claim, you can work in claims that are assigned to you. In the modules, I'm going to work exclusively in a claim that's been assigned to me, because that closely mirrors most likely what your workflow will be. Keep in mind, everyone's workflow will be different depending upon your company. If you're working for a carrier or you're writing for a network, everyone has different workflows. So this will kind of mirror closely what a lot of you will be working with. If you don't have any claims assigned to you here in your claim list, you can also work in a temporary claim. So if you want to try some hands-on things throughout the training tutorials, I would recommend trying a temporary claim. So here we can see that a claim's been assigned to me, and notice it looks a little different than the other two claims I have in this list. And that kind of leads us to talking about another concept that's important here in Symbility, and it's this concept of ownership. If you look up here in the ribbon, you'll see two buttons called Acquire Ownership and Release Ownership. Ownership is a new concept to you in Symbility, and it's a really important one, because ownership means that you have the editing rights of a claim, okay? So the editing rights, that's what lets you go in and diagram and estimate and do all of the important work that you need to do. So in order to begin working a claim that's been assigned to me, I first have to acquire ownership. Notice that my claims in here, this test claim, it has a little hand icon underneath the folder. And notice the other two claims in here do not. A little visual indicator like that is really important. In Symbility, I want you to get used to looking for small little symbols like that, because that's the system telling you something. It's telling you that you own this claim. So again, that means I could go in and I could diagram and estimate. But my training claim that just got assigned to me, I don't own it. So the first thing I'll have to do is acquire ownership. So again, you start your day by synchronizing. It pulls in new claim assignments to you. And then the next step is to acquire ownership. So I'm going to click on Training Claim. And notice when I select this, it activates this button up here. Acquire Ownership is now an active option. So I'm going to click one time, just one single time on Acquire Ownership. And notice it triggers Synchronize. If you ever see this symbol right here, that's a sign that you should probably synchronize at this point. So I'm going to synchronize. I'll have to accept the assignment, so I click on that link. Notice this training claim looks a little different now. Now I have that little hand symbol underneath it, and that's a visual indicator telling me I currently own this claim, and that's going to allow me to go in and start diagramming and estimating. So I'm going to double click on the training claim to open it. When it opens to this screen, and it's showing me the loss summary. Now, this all comes in pre-filled from the claim creator. If you were creating your own claim, you would take a moment and fill in some required information. But again, this all came in pre-filled from the claim creator. And you'll notice there are also some tabs across the bottom here. All right, so I've got the General tab, that's where we're seeing the loss summary. If I click on the Reports tab, I'll see some other fields like initial loss report, cause, damages, general comments. You can enter some additional information here. Claim type and pricing will tell you what database is being used. Policy is where different coverages can be set. And then of course, map and directions would provide you directions to a loss site, okay? I'm gonna just click back on the General tab back where we started. And at this point, there's an area I'd like to draw your attention to because it's an area that will guide us through the process of working a claim. And it's called the Claim Explorer. If you look in the top left over here, see this title, Claim Explorer. The Claim Explorer really is kind of going to lead us through our claim file. So if at any point you feel lost or you're not sure like where you are, looking in the Claim Explorer will help orient yourself within the claim file. So let's take a second and kind of look through what we have in the Claim Explorer. At the top here, we see the loss summary. That's what we're seeing right now. Then I see participants. A participant is kind of related to ownership. So with ownership, we talked about the editing rights. A participant means somebody could see the file, but they can't make any changes to it because they don't have ownership. So maybe a boss or a supervisor could be participating in a claim because they want to see it, but they won't be able to make any changes to it if they don't have ownership. So again, it's kind of like a view-only file. Then we've got assignments, okay? So assignments, depending on your company's workflow, could be pretty important to you. So notice when I click on the assignment, this window pops open and I see some different statuses in here. These are things like insured contacted, inspection scheduled, inspection performed. Generally, insurance carriers will monitor these statuses. So depending upon your workflow and who you're working for, you'll probably want to make sure that this window is kept up to date. So I could come in here and I could mark insured contacted and I hit OK, and that logs that information, that status, as part of this claim file. Then we see diagrams and estimates. This is where we're going to spend a lot of time talking about, kind of exploring diagramming and estimating. It's where you'll spend most of your time working. And then you'll see down here we've got photos, forms, documents, journal, all those kinds of things. Another place to keep your eye on is the ribbon across the top of your screen. Okay, so this kind of acts as your menu. The reason it's important to keep your eye on it is the ribbon is dynamic. It changes depending upon what you have selected. Keep in mind, if you've ever worked in Microsoft Word or Office, you're probably used to that ribbon format. The way it works here though, as I mentioned, it's dynamic. It can kind of change on you. So what that means is if I click on a floor plan, it's going to show me all the tools related to diagramming floor plans. Whereas if I click on photos, for example, it's going to show me the tools related to diagramming photos. So depending upon what you have selected in your Claim Explorer, that will affect what you're seeing in your ribbon. But again, the ribbon is your menu, so it's going to show you your appropriate tools, and it's a good idea to just keep your eye up there to see what's available to you. Another thing I'd like to introduce is preferences. Okay, since we're getting ourselves set up to start working in Symbility Mobile Claims, I just want to show you where preferences are. So if I click on the Symbility icon in the top left-hand corner up here, I'll get a drop-down menu, and about halfway down, I see Preferences. I'll click on it, and it's going to open up another window, and there are some different tabs that we can explore. So here in the General tab, I see this option in here, Save Auto Recover Info for the claim every 1 minute. If you have this set to anything higher than 1 minute, I would recommend changing it down to 1. What this will do is it's saying, if something happens, if your computer crashes or the program closes unexpectedly, this is saying the system will recover your work up until that last minute. So think about how much work you can do within 5 minutes. We want to make sure we're saving as much work as possible. As a side note, this doesn't replace the need to save your work as you go. You should always be saving your work. If you're ever prompted to save it, you should say yes. But again, this is a safety net that can save us in case the computer crashes or the program closes unexpectedly. So that's what I would make sure it's set correctly in the General tab. Keep in mind, these are just recommendations to get started. Ultimately, these are your personal preferences. Over in Diagrams, Roof Snap to Floor Plan Color is set to red. This is our recommendation here. This has to do with if you're drawing a roof on top of a floor plan, you want to make sure that you have a visual indicator telling you that things are lined up correctly. Any of these other colors will be a lot harder to see, so we recommend red. Down here, where it says Show Dimensions in Inches Only for Measurements Less Than, I'm going to put a check mark there, and I'm going to set this down to 12. This means if you're looking at a dimension that's 1 foot 2 inches, it will be displayed that way rather than being displayed as 14 inches. From diagrams, I'm going to skip over forms and navigation control, and I'm going to share with you some recommendations in the Items tab. So if I click on Items, I'm going to see this option right in here that says Timeout for Quantity and Note pop-up after dropping items. Mine's set to 5 seconds. That's our recommended setting. If you have it set to something lower, like 2 seconds, I'd recommend increasing it up to 5 seconds. This is going to give you the option to change your quantity very quickly as you're applying items. So it'll be a nice option as you start working in your diagrams and your estimates. There's also a scroll bar down the right side, and I'm going to scroll down about halfway. And I'm looking for this area in here. It says Line Item View. And I see under here 3 things. I see Action Name Format, Action Location, and Show Photos As. We want this set to Long Before Thumbnails. And I'm actually going to put a little check mark here at Show Column Headers. So I select that. And then do you see this list of all the different columns I can choose? Now you might be thinking, okay, I want to see all of this information. Keep in mind, this is not going to affect your estimate view. At your estimate, you'll have access to all of this information and more. What this is affecting is a small little area we call the line item view. And it's really a small panel that you can use as you're estimating to keep track of what you've just applied. But it's a small area, so if you come in here and you select everything, it will get very cluttered. So I would recommend kind of the mindset of less is more here. And I'm actually going to recommend deselecting the total and just going with quantity and unit price. Remember, at your estimate view, you'll have access to all of this information. Right above items, there's a little tab that says Quick List. What the quick list is it's kind of like a library of commonly used phrases. So if you're ever adding text, like if you're adding captions to photos, anything like that, anytime there's an option for text, like if you're adding a note, rather than having to type in the same text over and over again, if it's something you're typing in frequently, you can save it as a quick list entry and then you just select it from your library of commonly used phrases. So for example, you could go to add and add a new entry instead of, it's a time saver, okay? You don't have to be typing the same thing in over and over again. From here, I'll click on OK, and that will save any changes that I made to my preferences. Now remember, the recommendations I just shared with you are to kind of get you started. Later on, once you've been using Symbility for a while, if you want to change a preference, that's up to you. One other thing to remember though about preferences is that preferences are per device. So I just set my preferences for the device I'm using. But if you're planning on working off of multiple devices, if you're going to work off of a laptop and an iPad and a smartphone, you'll want to make sure that you set the preferences similarly across the board, across your multiple devices, okay? All right, guys, so we're getting set up. We've talked about synchronizing and ownership. We've gone into a claim and we've looked at our Claim Explorer and the ribbon, and we went into preferences. Now, there are a few other things I want you to be aware of as we're getting started in Symbility, and they are our online help and our support site. Because the more you work in Symbility, you might have some questions come up. So there are some really great tools to help you along the way. So what we can do is we can access our online help and our support team. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the little question mark up here. You'll see when I hover my mouse over it, it says click here to access Symbility's online help. When I click on it, a new window will load and you'll see it takes me to my photos. And the reason it takes me to the online help for photos is because I had been looking at my photo sheet in here. So it's intuitive. It knows where you're at within the claim file and it will take you to the appropriate place that you need to explore for a little guidance. So notice there's a whole kind of chapter organization over here. You can click on the relevant pieces and learn a little bit more about items or estimates, etc. So the online help is a really great tool. It's there to help you if you feel like you're stuck or you need a little guidance. It's there for you. Another tool that's there for you is our support team. So if we click on the Symbility icon in the top left-hand corner, we get a drop down and you'll see Symbility Support. And when I click on it, again, another window will load and you're going to have to take a moment and sign up with it. Once you're signed up, you'll have access to our user guide, our training manual, job aids, our support team, phone numbers, etc. So again, it's a really great tool for you. It's there to help you. And as you work more and more in Symbility, the more comfortable you'll become. Thanks for joining us as we learn how to get started in Symbility Mobile Claims. Join us in the next module as we look at diagramming floor plans.